Hi there, welcome. We're going to be stitching up this little birdhouse today. So I'm going to start with the birds. Obviously I've already done some stitching, but we're going to work on this guy over here. So using kind of the darker yellow color. And it's up to you if you want to do an outline before you fill. I'm going to go ahead and demo that. I did do that for this bird here, but on my other hoop I wasn't planning that far in advance, so I did not do the outline first. So I will show you with it and what it looks like without it. Basically, if you do an outline, and in this case I'm using a back split stitch to outline, not required, but what it will do is help define the shapes that you were going to do split stitch, or oh dear. It will help define the shapes you're going to fill with satin stitch. So it can be useful, especially since this is such a teeny tiny little thing here. At least to me it is. You might need your readers for this one. And if you want, you could outline using a different stitch. If you even want to outline, you could do back stitch. Like I said, I'm doing back split stitch. I'm not doing the best job, but these lines are going to be covered. I do find that it does help my, wow, that's like in the middle. Let's just pretend like that stitch didn't even happen. Oh gosh. Okay, gone. Nothing is there. All right. This does actually make my satin stitch look better when I do this, at least the edges. Okie doke. So I have this little chip taken out here, like so. Alright, and then I'm gonna fill my tail first. So I'm just going from point to point. I like to start in the center. Oh geez. I like to start kind of with a center line that's going to help me maintain a consistent stitch direction from one edge of the shape to the other. But I am just coming up at one end, going down at the other end, like so. You can see I have a hole in between these two I just did, so I'm going to come in, I'm actually going to fill in the hole like so. Yeah, I kind of filled that in alright. And I might need a stitch on the edge here to kind of cover my outline, although now it's made my tail kind of weirdly thick, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. Make sure you are covering your guidelines when you do this. Those guidelines are not going to wash out. So you want to make sure they get covered with your stitches here. Something like that. And then the same thing over here. Stitch direction like so. Now it's up to you. Like there's some overlapping elements in this design, right? So this wing is technically overlapping the body. And then we also have these leaves down here that are going to be overlapping the body. So right now I'm doing something in the foreground first, and then I'm going to fill in the bird, and then, oops, I apparently cannot talk and do satin stitch at the same time. Not a surprise, really. Oh, that's an interesting stitch direction. All right, we're just going to keep going. We're going with it. I don't know what happened there. So, what I was trying to say about the overlapping Some people prefer to do things in the front first and then the things in the back. Other times people want to do it the opposite, and sometimes it just depends on your mood. So try both, you know, see what works best for you. I think there's pros and cons for either. Right, I had to go back and do this little edge that I skipped. Like so. And let's see, I feel like there's like a little hole here from the beginning. Right there. Does it look okay? It looks okay. I feel like it's not my best work. I kind of have a weird thing here I'm trying to fix. I think it'll work for our purposes, so I'm gonna... Nope, I'm not gonna do that. I was out of thread. I was gonna try to weave it without seeing it, and that's just not gonna happen for me today. So here's my yellow. So if you look down here, you can see when I did this bird, I outlined the wings and tail and filled them in, then I outlined the body and filled them in. For the first time I did it, I did not do that because I was making it up as I went along, so you can kind of see the shapes are a little bit more messy, I guess. So let's see, I guess in saying that, I probably should just go ahead and outline rather than do it messy again. We already have examples of that. So one little tricky thing is when we fill the bird with satin, we are going to be stitching over the little eye and the little beak. So you're going to want to use your best judgment when you come back and add those in. They're going to just go right on top of this satin stitch we're going to do, which can be a little tricky. If you look down here, you can see I don't know if you can see this like weird stitch here. See how it's got this big shadow? And there could be a couple of reasons why that's happening. One is I think there's a stitch there that's kind of loose that's popping up. So you could try to go in from the back and like tighten the stitches. Another thing you could do to avoid that would be to switch from a satin stitch fill to a split stitch fill so you don't have such long stitches. I mean, I've definitely made longer stitches in my life for satin stitch, but in this case it is kind of a small, delicate little piece, so that would be one way to try to help it out. And let's see what else. I don't know if I'm missing a stitch. Another thing that could be the problem is that since I did do the outline, technically like these threads are kind of like elevated on the edges, right, where they have to go over the outline. So in the middle they're kind of like hovering, so that could be what's going on. I don't know, we'll see. We'll go back over there and I'll mess with it later. See, maybe at the end of the video, because that could get boring, especially if I can't fix it. Sometimes the solution is a pair of scissors. So we'll see. But anyways, actually the whole point for me pointing out this bird was to talk about the bars over the satin stitch there, because we're going to have to do our eye and beak over the satin, so it's kind of similar. Alright, so I've outlined here. It's up to you really if you want to do the outline on this other stuff. I'm not going to worry about it, to be honest. For stitch direction here, I basically I did like the neck as my starting direction and then went up and down from there. So when you're doing satin stitch, you really want to pay attention to the tension of your stitches. You want to make sure your fabric is drum tight in your hoop. I like to use a hoop that has, let's see, I didn't do it on mine, but on the back of the hoop I'm using, this inner hoop is bound with fabric so that I can get a really nice tight tension there for my fabric. Because if my fabric is looser than my stitches, I'm going to end up with this puckering that you're not going to be able to get out like with an iron, because it's not a crease, it's a pucker. This is where I would really benefit from some reading glasses. If you're interested in this project, but you're not interested in doing single-stranded work, you're not interested in doing something so teeny tiny, you can definitely grab the PDF and blow it up and make it bigger. Just filling in a little bit of some gaps here. It's got like a little bloop right there, but that's okay. It's not perfect. Okay, what's this stitch about? So now I'm going down, hopefully trying to So this piece is actually based off of a real, well, it's not a real cage. It's like a decoration that we found in the backyard from the previous owners. Don't you love these little knots? These are from using 2 long threads, and sometimes they just come out and sometimes they do this and they don't come out. So we are going to, here's some scissors here. All right. Oh, look at that. What? Where did it go? Oh, that was weird. Oh, it's still on there. Okay, that's bizarre. I swear it disappeared for a second. I'm losing it. All right. All right, I've decided to move on because we know what it's going to look like when we're done. So basically, I just kept filling with satin stitch. Again, if you're having a hard time maintaining a consistent stitch direction, you can have it kind of change over time. If you're having kind of weird stuff like this happen, you can definitely change it into like a split stitch, or yeah, that would be my suggestion for that. So I have this darker color, and I'm going to come in and put my little feeties in here. So they can just be straight stitches, or you can, if you want them, you can have it be back stitched if you want instead. I'm not worried about it. So I'm just adding a couple stitches to be like the little feet. I feel like these are like stickman feet. I love it. You can add more if you want it to look more like bird feet. Okay, sorry. Whew, having a little laugh here. Okay, so then if you want to add some spots along the chest, you can. I just use teeny tiny straight stitches. You want to be careful that when you do this, you are not messing with the satin stitch underneath. Also, you might decide that you want to use more strands of thread so these stand out more. That's also allowed. Or even a different color if you think this doesn't stand out enough. I feel like it actually helped with my satin stitch. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but I'm happy with that outcome. I have some kind of knot in the back again. What's new? The other day, oh my goodness, this was too funny. So I often have bits of thread stuck to me. I go about my day. And the other day I drove about a half hour away. I was meeting some people for a thing, and I looked down, and not only is there thread in my lap, but there is a needle attached to the thread, and it's just sitting in my lap. Like, how it got in my car, and I hadn't even noticed driving for 30 minutes that I had this needle and thread just chilling in my lap. That was a new one for me. Okay, little spots like that. Let's take a look at this one. Let's see, for this one, I feel like they're definitely messier when I did them before. This one, I feel like it looks better, but I can also see more where there's holes in the back, like here. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. I do want to come in and actually, I feel like I do want to do like a double layer. Maybe I'll have that in the instructions to use 2 strands, so you don't have to come back and like do another one on top, because that's just more fiddly work that no one would want to do. Let's see. So use care when you're doing this, because if you, like, best case scenario, when you go up and down, you're splitting a thread. And you're thinking, what? You want me to split a thread, a single strand? And yes, that is what I'm asking of you. So each single strand, each single little ply, like what I have here, see how it's twisted? It's actually 2 indivisible strands that are twisted, but you can split them with a sharp, tiny needle. And if you do that, you have less of a chance of kind of splitting between stitches. So if I, come in here, I can actually like split between these 2 stitches, right? But instead, if I'm like going just down without going in between, I won't create that cleavage. I'm more like pinning down the satin stitch. I really hope that made sense. Alright, so add as many of these little dots as you want. If you want, you could do like French knots instead. You can have them anywhere. You can have them on, like, we could put them on the back and like fix those stitches. I'll probably come back in with, let's see, what did I do with that? Nobody knows. It's gone. It's probably in my car. I probably went to my car. Where did it go? Who knows? Okay, we'll move on. Oh no, I found it. Here's this light yellow. All right. So I want to see. Here I am talking about trying to fix this. And let's see if that's actually a thing. I said I would fix it later, but okay. So I know I want to fix this big hole, right? So I'm cheating, and I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to follow along with my needle. So it'd be right there. Would that make a difference? I'm not quite sure. I know there's this hole is bugging me. Oops. I'm trying to make the, I'm trying to make the birds as simple as I can, and like, yeah, no, they are not simple because I'm trying to make them look simple. So it's making them complicated. Better. And then I don't know what's going on up here. It seems like there's like a couple extra layers right there. We'll see. And I don't really love whatever is happening here, but I think I'm just gonna leave it be and move on to the black so we can do the eye and the beak. So I'll do that actually up here on this one. So the beak's pretty easy. There's hopefully a tiny little bit of that guideline showing. And we're just gonna come in just a little ways here. Like that. Beak. And then the eye, it's kind of up to you. I mean, there-ish, I guess. So here, you can, I don't know if you can tell, it just came up. Oh, actually, it looks like I came up. I think I actually split one of those satin stitches like I was talking about. So that's, I mean, that's ideal. And then I'm going to try to split one going down, but I definitely went in between two instead. And then I'll kind of come up over here. Really what I'm doing is I'm making like the smallest cross stitch in the world. Does it kind of look like an eye from where you guys are? Yeah, kind of. So here on here, you can see teeny tiny little stitches. You could call it the smallest cross stitch ever. You could call it really super teeny tiny baby satin stitch. But I guess I like calling it cross stitch just so you know you can do like stitches in different directions to make it more round. And so I'm gonna add one more stitch on top like that. Nope. I want it right there. I was just trying to figure out what was going on with my beak. If there's like there's some kind of fuzzy or something. I'm gonna add another stitch for my beak to make it like a little bit more pronounced. Okay, that's that. So then you could do the bird cage itself. So I used a split stitch, or a back split stitch to be more precise, like so. And what I think kind of helps define the whole birdhouse itself is to do kind of a double thickness on parts. So you can do that by using like 2 strands of black, or you can just kind of go over your work again. That's what I did here. I just kind of came back and added like an extra thickness to help define where the edge of the house is. So the trickiest part, I would say, would be doing the split stitch or back split stitch on this circle bit. I would definitely recommend back split stitch, first of all. So you're gonna go back into your stitches, hopefully. I should have used some eye drops. Okay, yes, that went back. Alright, so when you're on this circly bit, definitely want these stitches to be super teeny tiny, or it's gonna look boxy like it. See how it's pretty boxy over here? I'm gonna either pull that out or go back and mess with it. I haven't decided yet. So teeny tiny, teeny tiny. So like we have to kind of pretend we know what we're doing with the eyes and the beak, even though we can't see the guidelines. It's the same for these bars over here, over this bird. So use your best judgment. So these center bits, you can probably just do a straight stitch here, like so. As long as it wants to stay down. I guess to be safe you could do it as a split, so. Go 1. And a 2. Something like that to make it for sure stable against the fabric. So here you can see it. Well, wow, why is it so loose? It shouldn't even be that loose. It's interesting. So then this center circle is even tighter. So you're gonna want to make really teeny, super tiny stitches around. Etc. all the way around. And then we have in between each of these spokes, I did a detached chain stitch. If you're not into that, you can do just more spokes. So it would be in between each of those. We go up and then down the same hole, and then you're going to leave a loop, and then you'll catch that loop somewhere over here, like so. Pull, and then tack it down here. So up and down the same hole. Come up over here somewhere. Just gonna eyeball it in between the spokes. Don't have to be perfect. And then tack it down. Yeah, so all the way around. What I want to show is maybe me trying to smooth out this circle so it looks better. So far has not helped. Let's see. I'm kind of just going over what I already did and trying to either like move my previous layer kind of into position with more stitches, or kind of smoothing out. I don't know if that helped or not, but I think part of when I was doing this, I wanted it to look kind of like sketched in, kind of like I didn't want it to look perfect because I knew I couldn't make it look perfect. So it's okay if it's like a little thicker in some spots, a little thinner, a little bit warped over here. Like I said, it's actually designed off of this old metal decorative bird cage we found in the backyard, and it's just been sitting there since we moved here. I can probably move on, huh? Let's start doing the vines. So it was just in the backyard, and it's been there for like 5 years. And then I was just rearranging stuff in the house, and I was like, you know, that's kind of cute. So I pulled it in, and I gave it a bit of a cleaning. And then, well, then I pulled out the glue gun and things got weird. But okay, so we're gonna do stem stitch for all the vines. I don't know if you could see here how super tiny I made it. That's kind of the goal, because it is it changes direction a lot, and for me at least, when I do stem stitch, I find it easier to do along one curve versus the other curve. So hopefully we can make this make sense. Okay, so I came up here. I'm gonna go down a little ways along my vine, but I'm gonna keep this excess above, and I'm gonna pop up in between these 2 points, and then I'm gonna pull, and then I'm gonna keep going. So I'm gonna go down a little ways away, and then come up in between and pull. And I'm just gonna keep going like so. So usually when I'm doing stem stitch, I just keep doing this, right? I want this excess thread. It's always gonna stay above or below, but it's gonna stay consistent. And you can definitely do that for this project. Or if you need to change it when you are doing different curves, you can also do that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then just keep it the same. Or if that's even more confusing, just you could always do a split stitch or a back stitch instead. Or you know what looks very similar would be a whipped back stitch. It won't look quite as textured as this, but it will kind of have a spirally look. So I'm still going. I'm still keeping my thread to the same side. But what happens is when I start curving in this other direction, I find it gets like a little bit harder to stay on the guideline. So make sure your stitches are nice and short. Do your best here. It's like, where's the guideline? It's going like that. It's mostly gonna get covered by this leaf here, so don't worry too much about that. I'm sure there's other parts in the project where it's like, wait, this is getting covered. Like all the lines here. It's up to you. You can see here I did leave a gap, but here I did not. It's up to you. Here I left a gap. Here I left the gap. Looking for other examples. So, I mean, in general, it looks like I left gaps for the leaves, but not for the vines. You can fill in the whole thing if you want. Don't leave any gaps. They'll just get covered. It's fine. Oh yes, so I cleaned the bird cage, and then I used a glue gun to attach some fake ivy to it and some fake flowers to it. And then I had these like little ceramic birds that I added that I also found outside. And actually the fake ivy was off of this wreath that we had on the front porch that just, I don't know, just, it wasn't looking good anymore. You know, when I've been in the sun a little too long, and it was kind of droopy and sad. So it now has new life in the bathroom. Oh no. Oh wow. I just stitched the corner of my fabric to the back of my project. So that's a thing. I'll have to deal with it some other time. I have stitched my work to myself before, so I'm pretty proud of that. Alright, we're almost here. So from here I did the leaves, also using 2 strands, but I did satin stitch. I did not outline the leaves before filling them with satin stitch. Oof, there's a big mess back here. It's nice and thick because it's a mess. Okay, something like that. So where's my, here we go. Well, I guess I won't demo over the bird because we didn't really get that far. But as far as what color to use where, I basically said in my head like every other one, because there's 2 colors, and I wasn't referencing this sample hoop when I worked on this sample hoop, and you can see it's different than what I did here, and it's also fine. So don't think too hard about it. Just, you know, just do some one color and some another color. I think this is my hair. That's awesome. Okay. So satin stitch. So same kind of start, right? I got my center line. Make sure we are covering the guidelines. Oops. Okay, there's a leaf. Etc. I don't know. Do more. For the little stem, just kind of come up a little ways into the leaf and go down to where the vine is. It's up to you how long you want that to be. You can come up from way over here. You can just have it be right at the base of the leaf. It's really up to you kind of how you want yours to look. Okay. And I did notice like this one versus this one, my leaves are a lot bigger on this one. So, you know, this is the one with the printed fabric. So the thing is like, I always want to make the guidelines like smaller so that if you want, you can make the leaves bigger, but you know, I don't want to make the guidelines so big that then you have to cover those guidelines. So it just, you know, it gets bigger and bigger. So Up to you how voluptuous you want your leaves to be. Alright, so then to finish, we have French knots. So I'm starting with this peach color. And you could see by the time I've done my leaves and my vine, it's like, okay, there. At one point in time, there was guidelines here, right? So it's up to you, like, if you want to look at the original picture and see where the actual center, like, is this the center, or is that the center, is that, honestly, it doesn't matter. Just go. Just do it somewhere so that when we're done, the guidelines are covered. All right, so we're going to come up, and what I like to do is just do a single wrap, like so, and then I'm going to come down near where I just went up, and I've pierced the fabric here, and then I pull this knot down gently, and then I am gonna pop through like that and let the thread go through. And again, here I'll show it going down on the other side of this stem. Got that knot down towards the surface of the fabric before pulling through, like so. You can do a double wrap if you want. I just do single wraps because, actually, you know, for my other one I did double wraps. So we'll do some double wraps. If I can figure out what is holding me up over here. Alright, so the double wraps. Single wrap's just going to be easier to pull through the fabric, right? Because you're having to pull that wrap over the eye of your needle. So it can be a little tricky. So if you're a beginner and you're not really a big fan of French knots, well, you can skip them entirely. You can use beads instead. You could use colonial knots instead. Or you could just stick with the single wrap. If you want to try the double wrap, you're going to go around once and twice. And then same thing where we just put the needle back close to where we were. You can see that wrap is much bigger, and then pull through. So you can see the difference, right, between this guy and this guy. This one's way bigger. I feel like I'm going to have to go back and make those bigger. Let's do it again. 2 wraps and down. Now, on the guidelines, you can see where I suggest to do these flowers. If you want to do more, add more. If you want to do fewer, well, I don't know. Oops, sorry. I'm just looking at my... I'm looking at the screen and realized that that second French knot was not on camera. Sorry about that. And maybe this one wasn't either. My apologies. So here's the off-white, kind of light yellow. And I did, let's see, I did 5 French knots around the center. French knots. So we'll do the double wrap. Like so. Double wrap. So after the flowers, you're pretty much done. I think, yeah. So you can go back and clean up anything you need to clean up. If you have any guidelines showing, or if you want to add anything. But that's about it. So I hope you have fun. If you have any questions, please send me an email. And where was this one gonna go? Oh, phew, that was close. It's when you get a French knot that doesn't go through or like tangles up on something else, I generally find it difficult to correct. And I have to pull out my scissors. Alright, last one. Oops. Let's see. I pulled up some kind of green from somewhere that I don't want. But it might disappear. Let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, like it like it was never there. What random piece of green thread, right? All right, that's it. I hope you have fun. Don't get frustrated. Take it slow. Use some good lighting and magnification if needed. And yeah, have a good time.